What is a Cracker Barrel? In the late 19th century, American country stores used to stock barrels full of soda crackers, which customers would use to gather around and socialize with the community. Kind of like old-timey water coolers. Well, now I guess water coolers are kind of old-timey too. What would be a modern equivalent of a water cooler? Espresso bar. The kombucha tap. Eventually, this socialization that took place in these old country stores became known as Cracker Barrels, referring to the simple informality of these interactions. But that's probably not what you think of when you think of a Cracker Barrel. What does chatting by the water cooler have to do with chicken and dumplings?
And all I've got to offer is sensitivity, intelligence, and charm.
Dan Evans was working for Consolidated Oil in the late 1960s, a family-owned gasoline distribution company founded by his grandfather. For a while, business was good for Consolidated. Until... cars started flocking away from small country roads and onto new interstates. This spelled ruin for small mom-and-pop gas stations like Consolidated. It was frankly impossible to compete with these massive chains. Dan and his family would have to think of something different, something unique. He eventually had the idea to open a Shell gas station on Highway 109 in Lebanon, Tennessee. The differentiator being that this gas station would have a gift shop and a restaurant attached to it. The property opened in 1969 and would become the first Cracker Barrel as we know them today. Now, don't get me wrong, food options on the side of the highway was not a new thing. Companies like McDonald's and Wendy's had already kind of saturated the market, moving in super quickly. But what made Dan's Cracker Barrel different was the design, ambiance, hearty menu, and southern charm. The most notable difference probably being the decor. If you've ever been to a Cracker Barrel, you know that the walls of every store/restaurant are covered with antiques, creating a pretty unique dining experience. When it came to decorating this first location in Lebanon, Tennessee, Dan turned to Don and Kathleen Shingleton, the owners of Spiderweb Antiques. The Singletons agreed to help and hand-picked each individual piece that was placed in that first store. Every single antique sourced locally. As the Cracker Barrel franchise grew, Don and Kathleen came on as the full-time designers of each and every store. During these early years, the Singletons would actually store antiques for Cracker Barrel in Don's parents' bedroom. By 1979, there were 19 Cracker Barrel locations. That's a lot of antiques to fit in a bedroom. And it was just the beginning. In the same year, 1979, Kathleen unfortunately got very sick, and the Singleton's son, Larry, who had spent his childhood surrounded by antiques but claimed he never really had an interest in them, left his construction job to take over the family business of decorating Cracker Barrels. Larry claims that antiquing was never really part of his life plan, but so goes life. At the franchise's peak, there were 40 to 50 stores opening every year. Larry says, "We were one of the few that would buy a 100 or 200 or 500 of something over the years. People would get in these old buildings and warehouses and find thousands of signs or 200 old cans, and we would buy them." That is an insane amount of antiques. definitely no longer fitting in a bedroom. It was around this time that Larry and Cracker Barrel opened a 26,000 square foot warehouse, housing tens of thousands, roughly 90,000 antiques. Eventually, this growth slowed down, settling into a more sustainable rate of about 8 new stores a year. As of the recording of this video, there are 660 Cracker Barrels operational in the United States.
I'm Larry Singleton, decor manager for Cracker Barrel Old Country Store, and you're in the decor warehouse. What we have here is, probably 90,000 individual items that we pull and design from. We put about 800 to 1,000 pieces in every one of our new stores. What we have always done is try to find authentic, genuine pieces that would have been in the old country stores. I think we're treasure hunters at heart. I think we love discovering, finding, uncovering things. The part I appreciate a lot about it is we put it out there so everybody still gets to see it.
The rarest piece in that 90,000 piece large collection of authentic antiques is a portable pantry from the 1800s that families would use as a kitchen as they moved out west. I just think it's so funny and so succinctly American that this authentic piece of history is in a Cracker Barrel somewhere. So there's all that growth, right? There's 660 stores. That's no small franchise. You would think a company of this size would start using replicas, kind of duplicating antique pieces to make the stores uniform. No. When it comes time to decorate a new Cracker Barrel location, a mock-up of the store is created in the warehouse. Within that mock-up, it's determined what goes where. Research is done on the local community and any industries the town may have been known for back in the day. Antiques are then selected based on that history, so the decor reflects the local culture. For example, if your town used to be known for weaving, you're probably gonna find a couple looms in your local Cracker Barrel. Once those culturally significant pieces are selected and sourced, the team determines what goes where within the store. The Cracker Barrel website states that they are striving for a museum-like quality for each and every location. There are only 4 items that are uniform across all 660 locations. A horseshoe above the front door, an ox yoke next to the horseshoe, a traffic light above the bathroom door. When I was a kid, that was my favorite part of Cracker Barrel. And a barrel, most likely a Cracker Barrel, with a checkerboard on top of it by the fireplace. There are roughly 1,000 authentic, unique antiques. Sorry, that was weird to say. Unique antiques. 1,000 authentic, unique antiques per location. Growing up, my family went to Cracker Barrel quite a bit, and I remember one time in first grade we were learning about modes of transportation, and the teacher pulled up a picture of a penny farthing, which is, if you don't know, one of those old bicycles with the big front wheel. And it's important to note here that I also grew up very close to Washington, D.C., and would also go to the Smithsonian's quite a bit. So when the teacher pulled up this picture of the penny farthing, I raised my hand, and I said, "Oh, I've seen one of those before." Now, my mom was volunteering in the classroom that day, and she was all proud. She was like, "Oh, Ellen's gonna say, at the Smithsonian." I'm like, I take my daughter to the Smithsonian. But no. When the teacher said, "Oh, where have you seen one of these before?" I said, "Hanging from the ceiling in Cracker Barrel." Only sort of related, but during that same lesson, I also told the teacher that my dad was born before the wheel was invented, because he used to tell me he had to walk to school. And why would you have to walk to school if there were wheels? Be glad that I'm not your 6-year-old. Just, kids say the darndest things. Oh, I also said my aunt was Amish because she hung her clothes to dry on a clothesline. And why would she do that if she had a dryer? If she doesn't have a dryer, she must be Amish. If you're a parent to a 6-year-old, God bless. Larry Singleton and his staff of, wait for it, 4 curated, cleaned, repaired, barcoded, and organized every single Cracker Barrel antique until Larry's retirement in 2019, ending the Singleton family's 50-year run as the sole decorators of all 660 Cracker Barrel locations. So why did I make this video? I don't know. I guess a couple weeks ago, David and I were at a wedding in central Pennsylvania, and the hotel we were staying at was next to a Cracker Barrel, so we got breakfast there. And I have to say, it was not a good Cracker Barrel. The food was... it was bad. I'm sorry. I'm not going to say which Cracker Barrel it was, but it was bad. But as we were sitting at this Cracker Barrel looking around, David asked, hey, where do you think all of the stuff on these walls is real? And that kind of sent us down a rabbit hole of Googling. And when I found out that the same family provided these unique antiques for every location, I just thought that was such a cool story. Post 2019, they do have new decorators, a new team, but I just think it's really cool that for 50 years it was the same people. I also didn't know that Cracker Barrels used to be a gas station, so that was kind of cool to learn. I don't know. I just learned some new stuff and wanted to share it with you guys. I know this isn't the kind of typical thing I do. You might hate this. It might flop. I come back after disappearing with a strange show video like this. But next time you find yourself at your local Cracker Barrel, take a look around. You might learn some local history. Hey guys, thanks for watching this fairly short video, but I think it was interesting. I don't know. If you liked the video, or if you like what I do in general, why not give the video a thumbs up or leave a comment, give it some engagement. If you want to see more content from me, you can click that subscribe button. And if you would like to support the channel, I just did an insane thing and quit my day job a couple weeks ago to try to start my own business. So I'd really appreciate if you wanted to support the channel. Links to my Patreon and some merch are down in the description in that link tree down there. I did quit my job with like a plan. Like I am doing something. I am, yeah, okay. There's a plan in place. All right. I'm not irresponsible. Just a little crazy. Anyway, if you want to support the channel, there's Patreon. You get Discord access, credit at the end of videos. Once upon a time, I used to do blooper reels, and then maybe if I get more patrons, I'll start making blooper reels again. Everyone who was about to become a patron just changed their mind after that. Yeah, if you didn't like the video, have you tried not being stressed by laying